Greetings, friends. The Royal Ontario Museum is the largest museum in Toronto, one of the largest museums in the country. Used to be good back in the day. Then it got attacked by a giant crystal organism, postmodern monstrosity. The ROM is actually a branch of the federal or provincial government, I forget. It's part of the government. And I went to their website. Of course, the museum has been closed since November, or even since all of this nonsense began. And I was just looking at their website, and I was looking at who actually runs this museum. If you go to their board of directors, they're listing the profiles of the people involved, and there's 20 people on the board of directors. 13 of them are women, 7 of them are men. These are the titles, and it's sort of their job titles was the inspiration to make this video. Just how ridiculous these job titles are, and what are bureaucrats even doing these days? What do you even do as a bureaucrat in a museum which isn't even open to the public anymore? You have Josh Basiches, the director and CEO. Okay, whatever. You gotta have some man running the show, right? I guess, even though what is he gonna be doing? Then you have Susan, whatever, doesn't matter what their names are, but she's Deputy Director for Museum Operations and Chief Operating Officer. She's also the Chief Operating Officer, so she has 2 titles. Then you have another lady who's Deputy Director for Collections and Research and Chief Innovation Officer. You're the Innovation Officer. How innovative of you. How creative. Then you have another chick. She's Deputy Director in Engagement. Engagement. And then you have some guy who is Deputy Director and Chief Financial Officer. Then you have another woman who is Chief Human Resources Officer. Then you have another woman who is Chief Marketing and Communications Officer. And you have some guy who is Chief Facilities Officer in Capital Development and Facilities. You see how vague and meaningless these job titles are, and you notice how they're all playing themselves up to be so important. It's like you have a lifeboat that escaped from the sinking ship, and there's only like 3 men in it, and like the one man named himself Admiral, and then the other man named himself Lord Lieutenant, and then the third man named himself like Chief Ship Officer. And it's like you're all in a lifeboat and you have no one. Like who's even working underneath these people? I mean, supposedly a museum has janitorial staff to clean things. That's about it. The museum's closed. The only technical work these people are doing is probably preserving and maintaining artifacts, which have to be cleaned. So there is some scientific know-how in doing that. But do you think any of these people are doing that? You have some guy who is the Chief Digital Officer. What on earth is a Chief Digital Officer? What is that? So you do stuff on the internet? So many people are calling themselves officer now. Look, an officer is either an army officer or a police officer. I can't think of any other context in which we would use the word and be taken seriously. This is a joke. This is clown world. Then you have another woman who is Senior Vice President for Exhibition and Gallery Development. So you're in charge of exhibitions and galleries, and you're a Senior Vice President. Then there's another Senior Vice President for Exhibitions and Gallery Planning. You see, gallery development and gallery planning, they both need vice presidents. Probably need presidents too. Then you have another lady who is Vice President, Marketing and Brand. Then you have another lady who is Vice President, Major Project Management. Then you have another lady who is Vice President for Public Affairs. Then you have some guy who is Vice President of Natural Histories. He probably actually knows something, although I don't trust him based on the way he looks. I missed the last, there's some other lady doing something else. Then there's some guy who's Vice President, Art, something. And then there's another lady who's Vice President of something, I didn't quite get it here. And then another lady who's Vice President, Communications and whatever. Then there's another guy who's Associate Vice President. So on this board of directors running this museum, you have all of these meaningless job titles, and then there's 4 other people. There's the Royal Ontario Museum of the Governor's Senior Administration, an additional 4 people. They are all women. So of these 4 women in the senior administration of the governors, you have one who is president and CEO, one who is vice president, philanthropy, one who is vice president, operations and campaign, one who is vice president, engagement and marketing. This is the corporate government world of meaningless job titles. They all give themselves a star to, play themselves up, to make themselves feel good, for a sense of entitlement, I guess. What actual work are these people doing in an institution which is directly run by the government, which is not open to the public right now at all? They are wasting the taxpayers' dime. Hasta luego, amigos.